upon a time, in a land far, far away, which is Texas, and I understand that is very far, far away. There was a princess trapped in a tower. Okay, so really it was me, and I was just trapped in a nearly sexless marriage. That's how I felt. So our story starts when I left the marriage in search of a handsome prince in shining armor on a stallion. Well, really, it was more the stallion that I was in search for. I knew that good sex existed. I had heard about it. I'm pretty sure that I had had it, but it had been a very long time, so I went on a quest. But as many of you know, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince. So this is that story. So the first person I fucked skipped the foreplay, fucked me for 10 minutes, said thanks, and left.
Whoa.
And I thought, well, statistically, this was bound to happen once. So we'll get back in the saddle, as it were, and try it again. So I got really drunk and fucked somebody who had a giant cock, which I was really excited about. And we had too much to drink, so it wasn't totally hard. But he was going to go for it anyway, and took his cock with his knuckles and rammed it as hard as he could into my vagina, but I was too drunk to realize what was happening until I woke up sore the next day. And also when we went to cuddle, he put me in a sleeper hold. But I was young and eager and determined to have good sex, so I kept going. So the next guy that I met, I'm pretty sure that we had sex, but I'm not entirely sure because he had the world's smallest penis, and so I really felt more like I'd been corked. But he was really nice, you know, so then I felt like a bad person. So I sort of like, okay, like 3 bad times, but like, here we go. Woo! Here we go. So that's what's gonna happen. So I thought, I know what I'll do, I'll have a threesome. Woo! Because that's hot. Yeah. So I invited these 2 people over to my tiny 400 square foot apartment. And then they started having sex with each other on my bed. And so I had to do homework. So I was like, with a highlighter and a law school textbook, it was like, according to Justice Rehnquist, writing like I can hear the sex happening and it's right there. Okay, all right, starting to get a little discouraged, right? And it's been a really long time since I've had good sex. So then I'm like horny and online, and there's this guy I know, and he's like really like testosterone, macho, and I thought if you take me, horny, plus the internet, plus a like testosterone fueled guy, and you add it all together, then that would equal good sex. So I took a bus over to his apartment late at night, and he's like, I'll give you a massage, take your shirt off. Right. So I lay down and he kind of like does this and then flips me over and then like we start having sex. And I realized that I've fallen into this 1990s MTV porn video and I'm fucking Beavis. Oh, you got some nice little titties, don't you? Oh, you got a nice little ass, don't you? You got a nice little pussy, don't you? So I fucked him twice. Things were starting to look bad for our princess. There was a cute young man that I worked with. He was like 23. And he asked me out, and I was like, yes, that's okay, fine, yes. And we, I don't know, did something, but ended up at my apartment, which was the important part of the date. And we're making out, and he like takes off all his clothes and goes to go down on me, which is usually a really good sign, but not in this case. So he climbs on top of me backwards.
What?
Pins my arms to my side with his legs and positions his asshole directly over my face. And so I'm staring into the abyss. When he face plants into my vagina and starts making noises that sort of sound like Animal from the Muppets eating a plate of spaghetti, right? So it's like the noise of the activity, and I can't move because if I move, then I'm gonna penetrate his ass with my nose, which is not a kink that I'm into. So eventually he's done with that, and we commence with the sex. And so he repositions and then lays on top of me and then goes completely limp, like all dead weight. And starts shaking and jiggling, sort of like quivering, like Jello after you take the mold off. I'm kind of lying there, and I almost wish there was somebody like in the room that I can like look at and have one of those like. And I think we're done because he then like stops and then like face plants into the pillow next to me.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, it's hard to look at somebody and try not to cry after sex. But he like kisses me really passionately and is like, this is wonderful, we should go out again. So, you know, I at this point, it had been about 6 months since my ex and I had broken up and a really long time since I'd had good sex, so I was like, okay, right, it's like halftime, we've got to regroup, we need a new strategy, and just like in any good epic, if you're in search of something, right, you have to go to the ends of the earth to find it. So I met a boy who lived in New Zealand, and I was like, that's hot, right? They filmed the Lord of the Rings there. There's like, it's far away. And he had a really big penis, according to my computer screen. So we had like a lot of cyber sex, which was fabulous. And I was like, he's great in bed when I touch myself. He's awesome. And so that was good, and I was like, the prince, right, the one, the like, it's happening. And then he came to visit me. And you know, there had been red flags, which I now know to look out for, but did not then because I was young and desperate and newly divorced. But it was bad for a lot of reasons. But the rock bottom, really, not just of that relationship, but of the entire voyage happened when one time, we're having sex and I'm on top, and I didn't really feel that comfortable on top anyway, so I'm sort of like kind of faking it, and he's like, move your ass like the girls do in the rap videos. I'm like,
oh my
what?
god.
And he's like, no, you know, just jiggle your ass. So I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, just your ass, and he starts screaming at me, and so I'm like, and I'm having some sympathy for the jiggly jello guy now, because I'm kind of like twitching on top of him. And he pulls up my laptop. He's inside of me, and there's my laptop, and he's pulling up videos going, like that! Fuck me like that! And I'm like, wishing that somehow I'd been born with independent ass jiggle muscles, which is not happening. And eventually he's like, you're the reason I can't get hard! And like pushes me off and screams at me and storms out. Yeah. And it actually took me a little while after that to finally break up with him. It was in a bad place, right? So then I was like, okay, that's it, right? Like I had good sex one time when I was 18, and that's it for me. I'm done. It's never gonna happen again. So I bought a baby blue dildo. I formed an intimate relationship with my bathroom faucet. I went on some dates, but it was like, what's the point, right? And so one day, this guy asked me out, but he was not, I mean, he wasn't my type, right? But he said, you know what? We should go play drunken putt-putt. And I'm like, well, that's the best date idea ever. I mean, you're not my type. I'm not gonna have sex with you, but okay, fine. We'll go, we'll have a good time. So he's like friends with my friends, and they all think he's really cool, and so we go play drunken putt-putt, and he's like funny, and we're having a good time, but he's not my type. But the date is early, and so he's like, let's go watch cartoons at my house. And I'm like, well, you're comfortable, and I told you I'm not monogamous. That's definitely not happening. And polyamorous, I just want a lover, and oh my god, I want to get laid, but you know, not this guy. But he's fine with that. So we go to his house. And then at one point he's like, this is where I make my move. And it's so disarming, it's really cute. So I'm like, whatever. So he starts giving me a shoulder rub. But unlike the claw guy, right? Like when he touches me, really, literally, I went, And I was like I liked how his touch felt. He wasn't my type, so I'm like, I know I can't have sex with this guy, because I know. And then I'm like, well, my type is really bad in bed, so maybe I should. Reconsider it, like, my ass is like, maybe I'm like learning how to do the jiggle. I'm like pushing against him. So we, I can't resist, right? Like, so I'm like on his couch and we're fucking, and I'm like squirting, like for one of the first times in my life. And he's like not even fully hard, and he's not my type, and I'm like having the best sex ever. And then I went home and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't, none of this makes any sense. And then it hits me that all of the times I have had bad sex before, there is one crucial and very important thing in common with all of those experiences, which is me! I was there every time I had bad sex! And I realized I'm the villain in this epic fairy tale. And that all the time I took figuring out and exploring myself and deciding that I was not gonna have sex with people just because, they were there, or I was curious, or they were online, and instead waited until I had sex because, like my body had sex and didn't ask me first, kind of. Was like, oh, well no, this is really quite delightful. And all of a sudden, I started having the most amazing sex. And I had sex with tall people and short people and fat people and young people and old people and people with tiny penises and big penises and people who finished early and people who didn't finish and women and trans folk and parents and business people and stoners and like it didn't matter, right? All the things that mattered before didn't matter. All of a sudden, I turned from this villain in my own sex life into the prince that I had been waiting for. And my last thing to say is that as a girl from Texas, where Southern hospitality is a really big deal, I have been quite surprised and delighted by how much I've been welcomed here, so thank you very much.